Hi everyone, it's Lauren from Crafty Hippie. I'm going to be making a beautiful U card today, and I'm going to be using the Pebeo drawing gum again. If you're not sure how to use Pebeo drawing gum, which is a masking fluid, then watch my other video how to use masking fluid, and you'll see how you use it. There's a step-by-step tutorial there. So this is an image from Beautiful You that I've stamped and Pebbeoed earlier. So that's been left to dry and is now ready for me to use. I've actually used the lady with the umbrella again. I really like her, and yeah, I'm going to take you step by step how to make this card. So I've got a piece of white paper just to protect my work surface. I did explain in the other Pebeo video that I was using Stampin Up grid paper, which I've got and I use and I really love, but the lines on it, when I set up my video, they're not always straight, which drives me absolutely bonkers. And also the large white area with the lights was causing a strobing effect. So I've had to use a smaller area of white paper. It doesn't look as pretty, but you know, it does the job. So I'm going to be using the Balmy Blue stamping pad, which is what I used in the other video, but I really like this colour, and I'm going to gently sponge over the paper and build up the colour. It's quite a long area to sponge here. Okay, so it doesn't matter if this doesn't look too neat or too uniform. We're actually going to be stamping over the top of this, not just sponging. So it's going to create a really great effect, and the stamping means it draws your eyes away from the sponging. So if it's not perfect, it doesn't matter. And of course, you know, you're making a handmade card, so it's going to look different every single time anyway. My sponging isn't brilliant, but I know that once I stamp over the top, it really isn't going to matter. And the other colour I'm using today is So Saffron, which is a light yellow colour. Very gentle. I don't know if these two colours are going to go. I'm not sure if I'm going to like this card once I've finished it. It doesn't matter. The main thing is you are seeing the techniques and you are learning, you know, how to put things together. Okay, so I think that's done. Kind of reminds me of the sky a little bit. As I explained in the last video, I usually buy stamping sponges, which I found on page 203. Can't get my words out today. There are 3 sponges for £3.25. They're much better quality than these dish sponges, which I'm using because I've run out. I cut my sponges up, so the stamping sponges are circular, and I cut mine into wedges just because I find that I use such a small area of them, and I like to get a nice sort of straight bit. So by cutting a wedge, I use the wedge end, and then you end up with loads. But I've thoroughly worn all mine out, so I'm using dish sponges for the time being. Right, so I'm actually using another stamp set today. I'm using the Jar of Love stamp set, which I adore, and I'm going to take the little flower out of Jar of Love, and I'm actually going to stamp in the same colour. I'm going to stamp over the top of the sponged area. And you can go over the top of the lady as well. You just need to be mindful that the Pebbeoed area is shiny, so you will pick up ink off of that. So when you're rubbing it off, what you don't want to do is rub the ink onto the area that you've masked out. I love this effect. By using the same colour you end up with a stamped image which coordinates because it's the same shade. And you can do that over a braid background, a sponged background, and it's just really great. I'm just completely doing this at random. I'm not sure if I'm actually even doing a very good job here, but you get the idea. Just doing a cluster of flowers here and there. Let's do a bigger one down here. Okay, I think that's right. So I'm just going to use the heat gun and dry that off a little bit. You don't normally really need to use a heat gun for this, but I just wanted to make sure that everything's dry before I attempt to rub off the Pebeo. And I don't know if you can see that, but she's perfectly white, no ink marks on her at all. It never ceases to amaze me when I use Pebeo. I say it every time, but it really is amazing stuff, and it's just perfect for pairing with our products. Like I said in the video before, we don't sell it. You can get it in bottle or pen form, and there aren't many other brand auxiliary products that I use. However, we don't make an alternative to this, so it's one of the few things that I do use that is other brand, but it's so fantastic. Right, now I'm going to colour her in. There are so many ways you could do this. You could use our watercolour pencils and either an aqua painter or a blender pen. These are blender pens here. You could use an acrylic block with a dab of ink from an ink refill, and again either an aqua painter or a blender pen. You can put a few drops of the ink refill into the lid of the ink pads. You can squeeze the ink pads if you're very careful and you end up with a little bit of colour there, or you can use the blender pen and even just pick up the colour from the pad with your pen. There are so many different ways you can colour with Stampin' Up. I'm going to use the my blender pen and just the edge of the ink pad, and just check actually that I haven't left any remaining colour on from another project, because then, you know, if I'm then colouring and then ruining my project, I'm going to be really unhappy. So I think I'm just going to do this really basic and do her dress on her umbrella yellow and just keep it very, very basic. And we are going to mount her on some So Saffron card in a minute. And this is all going to sort of blend together, you know, coordinate. And now I'm not an expert at colouring. I don't really know where to put all the darker bits and the lighter bits, but you can't go wrong. It's a bit like the waterfront watercolour set. You just don't seem to be able to get it wrong. And that's what I love about Stampin' Up and some of their designs. You can make everything look really professional, even if, you know, you're just a bit of a hobbyist, really. Okay, so I have just put some extra layers of colour on this left-hand side. Don't know if that's the right way to do it, but I'm really happy with that. Just clean my blender pen off. To one side. And I've already stamped my sentiment, which is from Beautiful You, goes with this set. I did that in the last video, so I'm just going to hang on to that now. Obviously, I'm going to mount this on here. Obviously, you could actually save card by putting a strip here and a strip there rather than having such a big yellow strip, but because I'm doing this as a video and I'm liable to make mistakes, I'm just doing it as one continuous piece just for ease. I've got slightly wonky card, but it doesn't matter. I can give that a trim in a moment. Just trying to line it up so I can stick it down. Let's try that again. I have real trouble getting things straight. I don't know why. Never used to. Again, it's probably just my silly brain, which I know I talk about all the time, but it just gets in the way of so much. Right, stick that down. Oh, I've had a bit of a malfunction, which is unusual. Let's wind that back in. Lovely. And I'm just going to pop that on there. The snail glue is my all-time favourite. It's just so easy to use. I just need to trim off the bottom a little bit. And I'm going to pop my Celebrate sentiment on. I don't know, shall I go there or there? I really like things at an angle. I like symmetry, but I think I'm going to pop it there. As you can see, I stamped one on the back and I wasn't all that happy with it, so I flipped it over and stamped again. I can't remember if I've mentioned, but you can find the Beautiful You stamp set in the annual catalogue on page 132. There are 13 stamps and you can go for wood mount or clear mount. Or of course you can find it in the online shop. Just go to www.craftyhippie.co.uk. There's also a link underneath this video, and just search Beautiful You in the shop and it will bring it up straight away. So there we have a balmy blue and so saffron Beautiful You masked card. Thanks for watching.